Hello everyone, happy Sunday. Welcome back to Clues by Sam. I hope you guys are doing good. Hope you had a good weekend. If you don't know what Clues by Sam is, it is a daily logic puzzle we play every day here on the channel, and in it there are 20 people. Each of them must be either a criminal or an innocent, and we gotta figure out what they are using the clues that they give us. Today we have a hard one, so really exciting. It's been a while since we have had an evil one, but Sam has mentioned that they're gonna bring one shortly. So if you want to play along, the link is in the description, and if you need any help, I hope I can explain my logic in a way that you can understand, because I'm going to start my puzzle right now. Let's start with Ellie telling us that 2 of the 4 criminals that were in Lucy are below Bunty. So below Bunty, there are 4 people. 2 of them are criminals. And Lucy is also below Bunty. So 2 of those 4 criminals neighboring Lucy are below Bunty. Okay, the people neighboring Lucy below Bunty are Floyd and Kita, because Lucy is below Bunty herself. So both of them have to be criminals. And since we know that Lucy has 4 criminals total neighboring her, then here in column B, where there's 3 people neighboring her, she should have 2 more and 1 single innocent. So let's keep that in mind and look at Floyd's clue. Only one of the 5 criminals neighboring Sarah is a clerk. So Sarah has 2 clerks neighboring her, and only one of them is a criminal. The other one is then gonna be an innocent, so we tag them with the same color to indicate their opposites. And there's 5 criminals total neighboring Sarah. So if Sarah has 8 neighbors total and 5 of them are criminals, that means that 3 of them are innocents. One of the innocents is either Ruby or Wally. We don't know about the other 2 yet. Kita says that 2 teachers have a criminal directly to the right of them. Okay, so Uma and Vicky, both are teachers. There's no other teachers? Oh, Kita is a teacher. So 3 teachers, 2 of them have criminals to the right of them. What does that mean? We know that Kita and Vicky both are teachers, right? And to their respective rights, there's people who are opposites, Ruby and Wally. So we know that only one of these 2 teachers is going to have a criminal to their right, because it's impossible for both of them to have a criminal to their right. That means that we have to have a second teacher with a criminal to their right, who is not Kita nor Vicky, and that's Umar, the only teacher left. So we know that the person to the right of Umar is a criminal, because that's what the clue is saying. Gotta double check that it's talking about criminals. And I guess I don't need Kita's clue anymore. Now Vicky says that column B is the only column with exactly 4 criminals. So one thing is, we know that Lucy has 3 people neighboring her in column B, and that 2 of those are criminals. Let's say that those 2 are Ivan and Martin. Along with Vicky, that makes 3 criminals in column B, so we need a 4th one. And it couldn't be Ruby in this case, because Ruby is neighboring Lucy, and because Lucy already has 2 criminals, Ruby would be an innocent neighboring Lucy. Now, who is the 4th criminal in column B? It has to be Carol, right? And we also know that there's only one column that has 4 criminals, so let's keep that in mind too. Carol now says that exactly 2 criminal clerks have a criminal directly above them. 2 criminal clerks have a criminal directly above them. So, since Ruby and Wally both are clerks, but only one of them is gonna be a criminal, because the other one has to be their opposite, that means that the second criminal clerk that Carol is referring to has to be Sarah, because she's the only other clerk that could be a criminal. And we also know that either Martin or Ollie are gonna be a criminal, because the 2 criminal clerks have to have 2 criminals above them. So Sarah could have an innocent. Let's just try to simulate the scenario so you can understand here, and I can understand. Let's say that Sarah is a criminal with an innocent above her. let me try to make this work the other way around. Like, let's say, for example, that Wally is a criminal. Now we have one clerk with a criminal above them, right? That's Sarah. And either Sarah or Ruby would have to have a criminal above them as well. But it couldn't be Ruby. Because, I mean, it could be Ruby. Ruby could have a criminal above her. So that's why I'm simulating the scenario to see if it makes sense that we know for sure that either Martin or Ollie are criminals. Like, does it make sense what I'm trying to do here? Because we know for sure that Sarah is gonna have to have a criminal above her. Because she is one of the criminals. And whoever is the second criminal is gonna have to have a criminal above them too. But if it is Wally, they already have a criminal above them. If it is Ruby, then Martin would have to be a criminal. But if Wally has Sarah, if Wally is a criminal and has Sarah as a criminal above him, now we have our two criminal clerks with criminals above them, and it doesn't really matter what Martin is. Because if Martin has an innocent below him, he could either be an innocent or a criminal, it wouldn't really matter. So what we know for sure is that Ollie is a criminal. And that was a really complicated way of saying that the clue is telling us that Sarah has a criminal above her. But now Ollie gives us a new clue, and a number of instances in column D neighbor them. So in a number of instances in column D, there's 3 people in column D who neighbor Ollie. Could all 3 of them be innocents? For sure they could. Why is that? Because Sarah has 3 instances neighboring her. One of them is going to be here, either Ruby or Wally, so she has space for 2 more instances neighboring her, who could be Peter and Thor. But in this scenario, that would force Wally to be a criminal so that we can have 2 criminal clerks with criminals above them. Yeah, if Martin is a criminal, that works too. So it doesn't really matter. But could only one of them be an innocent? And if that were the case, could that innocent be Kyle? That would force Wally to be a criminal then, because Sarah and Martin would be forced to be innocent so that Sarah can have 3 innocents neighboring her. Then Wally would have to be the second criminal with a criminal above them. If, on the other hand, somebody that neighbors Sarah is an innocent and the other 2 are criminals, then we don't know about Martin and Sarah. So what do we know? What do we know? Because it has to have to do with column B being the only column with 4 criminals. Because if Martin is ever an innocent, if Martin is ever an innocent, that forces we couldn't have 2 innocents here neighboring Lucy. I just remembered that now. So Martin being an innocent, first of all, forces Ruby to be a criminal, which breaks. Why does it break? Because now there's not 2 clerks with criminals above them. There's not 2 criminal clerks with criminal above them. So that's one important distinction that we have to do, because sometimes the clue doesn't mention the role of the profession who have to have another role above them. Sometimes it's just two clerks have a criminal above them. And in this case, it is specifically a criminal with a criminal above them. So this wouldn't work. Martin being an instant forces Ruby to be a criminal because there's only one instant here in column B. And Martin being an instant forces Ruby to be a criminal because there's only one instant here in column B, and that forces Wally to be an instant. And now there's not two clerks with criminals above them who are criminals as well. So we know that Martin is definitely not an instant. And we know that Ruby and Ivan are opposites. Only one of them is an instant. Martin gives us a new clue. 3 people on the edges have an instant directly above them. So this is the clue that I mentioned. It's showing up a lot lately. So 3 people on the edges have an instant above them. Although everybody in row 1 is on the edge, none of them have people above them. So they don't count. Lucy doesn't count because above her is already Floyd, who is not an instant. Umar doesn't count because he has Kita above him, who is already not an instant. So, and this clue doesn't mention the row of the people who have instants above them. So it doesn't matter what the person is, it just matters that they are on the edge and have an instant above them. So let's say that all 3 people here neighboring Ollie are instants. All of them will have instants above them and will be on the edge. Now, how many people do we have on the edge who have instants above them? We have Thor, Peter, and Kyle. That's all 3. We know that Sarah needs... Oh, we know that these 3 are... We know that these 3 are instants because Sarah needs to... Sarah has to be an instant. I didn't explain anything there, but let's think about this. If all 3 of these guys are instants, we have more people on the edges with instants above them than we should. Why? Because Zara has an instant above her. That's 1. Thor has an instant above him. That's 2. Peter has an instant above him. That's 3. Already our top. But Kyle also has an instant above him. And all of these people are on the edges. So now we have more than 3 people on the edges with an instant above them. Which means that we couldn't have Peter and Thor both be instants. Only one of them could be an instant in order to make Sarah have enough instants neighboring her. We need Sarah to be an instant as well. And now Kyle couldn't be an instant because Ollie has a non-number of instants neighboring them in column D. So, one of the people who have instants above them and are on the edges is going to be Kyle. Thus, I'm going to mark Kyle as a criminal because we already know that. But thus, or could Peter be a criminal now? I mean, it doesn't really matter what Peter is because anyway, there's only gonna be one person here who's gonna have an instant above them. It's either gonna be Zara or Thor. So we have 2 people in column B who have instants above them, right? That means that we need one more person on an edge that has an instant above them. And as we established before, it couldn't be anybody in row 1. It couldn't be Wally, because Wally, although he's on the edge, already has a criminal above him. Umar already has a criminal above him. It could be Vicky. It couldn't be Lucy, because Lucy already has a criminal above him. But it could be Kita, because Lucy could be an innocent. So what we know is that Lucy and Ruby are opposites, is it? What did we learn? If... Oh, it could be Floyd. Floyd could have an innocent above him as well. Bunty could be an innocent. But let me put this way. In column A, we have the following situation. If anybody here, besides Umar, is an innocent, if Bunty is an innocent, and let me just make sure that we know that we have an innocent above somebody on the edge in column D here, so we have 2 people. And we need only 1 more. So if that person is in column A, if it is Bunty, for example, that will force Lucy to be a criminal. And now, since we know that only column D has 4 criminals, that will force Umar to be an innocent as well. And it would force Ruby to be a criminal because we already have our last person on the edge with an innocent above them. So Vicky couldn't be one of those. That will make Wally an innocent. And Ivan a criminal. Ivan an innocent as well, sorry. But would it change if it were Lucy? I don't think it would. I don't think it would. Would Ruby... We know that Zara is an innocent. Would Ruby be an innocent? Force anybody here? I mean, it would force both Lucy and Bunty to be criminals because we couldn't have any more people on the edges who have innocence above them. So we couldn't have Kita or Floyd have innocence above them, which would force Umar to be a criminal because we couldn't end up with column A having 4 criminals total. So Umar would have to be a criminal as well. Was Umar a criminal in the previous scenario too? I don't remember. Do I have to go through that again? I guess so. Ruby being an innocent. Ruby being a criminal makes Lucy and Bunty opposites. Yeah, but it doesn't really matter for Umar because now Umar could be a criminal or an innocent. Two criminal clerks have a criminal directly above them. Okay. That's an interesting thing we gotta go back to. Because we know now or do we? No, we don't. Doesn't really matter what Ruby or Wally are. Anyways, gonna be only one criminal clerk with a criminal above them. So we don't need Carol's School anymore. Have I read Kyle's School? This whole time I was trying to do this without reading Kyle's School. Ollie has exactly 2 instant neighbors, so where's Ollie? Ollie is gonna have 1 instant neighbor here, who's either Peter or Thor. And Ollie is gonna have another instant neighbor here in column B shared with Lucy. So those are Ollie's 2 instant neighbors, which makes Joyce, who's not shared with anybody we already know about, not an innocent. And since we now know that column C couldn't be left with 4 criminals, Wally and Daniel have to be the same. You know? Wally and Daniel being the same, does it affect anybody? There's a non-number of instances neighboring Martin. Did I not read this too? Am I just skipping clues because I'm trying to jump into conclusions? There's a number of instances neighboring Martin, so one of them is either gonna be Ivan or Ruby, and Martin has only one more person neighboring him besides those two, who is Lucy, who couldn't be an instant because that will make two instances neighboring Martin, which is an even number, so Lucy has to be a criminal. Now, don't need Sarah's clue anymore, but Lucy says there are no instances in between Bunty and Ellie. Where's Ellie? Bunty and Ellie have Carol and Daniel between them, and none of those are innocent, so Daniel is not an innocent. And we know that Daniel and Wally have to be the same because column C couldn't be left with 4 criminals, so Wally has to be a criminal too, which makes Ruby an innocent. And now we know that Vicky is the last criminal on the edge. I mean, is the last person on the edge with an innocent above them. So that makes Bunty not an innocent, definitely. And since we know that column A couldn't be left with 4 innocents, that will make Umer a criminal as well. And now Bunty says that Thor has only one innocent neighbor, and that's Zara. So Thor couldn't have Peter to be an innocent as well, which makes himself an innocent. And him being an innocent makes Peter a criminal. Now we know that Lucy already has her innocent here in column B, so Ivan is a criminal. And we are done the puzzle. You see? Wow, that took me long. 17? Yeah, I think it is very interesting when we have this sort of thing where you have to be very aware and keep track of everybody on the edge. Like, it's really hard if you're not writing it down. And it's hard to remember who, because I was talking about Vicky and who? Vicky and Lucy for so long, I almost didn't notice Bunty, who could also be an innocent on the edge above somebody else on the edge. So it's really tricky, indeed, to sort of notice and keep track of these things, but it all comes from practice and also the way you're playing and how relaxed and how into the game you are. Sometimes, as we've mentioned previously here on the channel, sometimes you've had a rough day or a rough week, as I've been having, and you sort of get it, it gets trickier for you because you're not in the right place to be playing the game fully, but it's a nice distraction and I really enjoy this. I will be streaming later today, a little bit after 6 p.m. BRT. And yeah, good distraction for me. I'll see you guys later or tomorrow for more Clues by Sam. So, bye bye.